Episode 7 coming to you shit hot. Welcome back to the Wayward Souls of the Double Tap In.
Yeah,
How's it going, buddy?
You had to mention shit hot, didn't you?
Oh, of course.
And just what he's alluding to is, y'all see that stuff? So I went for a walk 2 days ago, 4 miles, turkey hunting, did a little fishing on some state land, did all this kind of stuff. And I went with Captain Zach Augustine, who's my neighbor, and we're going to have him as a guest on here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. He's a licensed guide for fishing. He's got a 24-foot Pair Marine center console with a cobia tower. Very, very nice boat. This dude is one of the nicest people I know. He wanted to go turkey hunting, so we go turkey hunting. We want to do a little fishing afterwards. Well, I can tell you, 4 miles in the woods and rough terrain and all that kicked this old man's ass. So last night I'm having some thigh pain. And so I grabbed this. Oh, no, not chicken thigh pain. This shit was deep muscle kind of hurting stuff. Well, this says, and of course, Ray knows my wife, and she, the acupuncturist and holistic person that she is. She says, you might want to rub some CBD on it and get it done. Well, this thing is 16% menthol, 11% camphor. So without thinking, I coat my right thigh. Give myself a little deep tissue massage, do all that, go to bed. Yeah, well, let me tell you something. I wasn't in bed very long, and I realized that I royally fucked up. The heat that came off that shit went straight to the boys, and I couldn't decide if I liked it or I didn't like it. So, but at that point, what can you do? It's not like you can go in the shower and wash it off. You just either have to, man, thinking that I was really tired. Well, if you know my peppermint soap story, you know how refreshing it is and invigorating. Yeah, man, that's not what you want to do at bedtime. I should have calculated that one a little bit better. Yeah, that was really rough. So I knew not to touch anything, when I got done, but holy shit, man.
Hold that back up. The thing that would have gotten me is the revolutionary.
Yes, pain relief. And if you look right up there, the menthol and camphor. Yeah, that's what did it. So when I first came back from up the road, I went back to work for Dispatch in Ocean City. And one early summer morning, I hadn't been back a month, I don't think. One of the beach photograph guys, to do telescope pictures, called in. 911 call now. He called in. It was his second day. He was getting ready for work, and his thighs hurt from running in the sand all day. So he rubbed Bengay all over his legs and inadvertently got them on the twig and giggleberries. He called 911 for that shit.
I bet.
So I had to dispatch paramedic 1, now paramedic 7, to this dude on Robin Drive for Bengay on his testicles. And that's exactly how I dispatched it. And there was a very, very long, pregnant pause before paramedic 1 answered, acknowledged the call, and you could hear the absolute thrill and humor in their response when they asked, "Could you repeat the nature of the call, please?" Why, absolutely, I can.
I'd be happy to.
And God bless Angelo Floria. He was my my trainer when I went back. He said, "I can't believe you actually said that." And I said, "Well, it's what it was." He goes, "I mean, no, I meant say it with a straight face. We all know you." And I said, "Well, if you know me, you know damn well I can say it with a straight face. I'm going to laugh my ass off afterwards, but I'm going to say it with as much humor as I possibly can."
Absolutely.
Poor fella. I said, I had him on the 911 line. I said, "Hey, man, did you think about taking a shower and, just sucking it up for a couple of minutes and getting it done?" He goes, I can't. You could just hear the absolute fear in his voice. I said, "It's not going to hurt you, man. It's okay. It's just Bengay." Oh, my God, man. Ain't that some shit? So anyway, I got a little dose of reality last night. Oh, it's not as bad as cutting jalapenos, making jalapeno poppers, and then not wearing gloves and having to go pee. That was way worse. But you live and learn.
Did you see the guy that was talking about this was the Carolina Reaper, the pepper, and he's like, you don't touch it and then touch like your face. Well, he made that mistake, and like something in his eye, and you can watch it on camera of like he melts and just like runs off the screen, and you're just sitting there like, oh, that poor bastard, because you're watching, you see it, and then you see it sink in. Like, oh
shit! Here we go.
Yeah.
Live and learn.
Yeah, we had a guy. This was years ago, and I don't remember which hotel it was, but he ate some kind of pepper, and scorpion was in the name, and wanted to go to the hospital. And I was like,
scorpion.
All right, let's go. Yeah, I was like, at what point did you think this was a bad idea? Like, because for me, I'm telling this guy, like I was a part-time.
The name is a clue.
Yeah. If it's got scorpion in the name, maybe you shouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. All right, let's go. Yeah. Come on.
So I've got a gentleman I graduated with. Greg, if you're watching, I appreciate everything you do with Pepper Wise. I don't know how many plants he has, but he's got every pepper variety you can think of, and then stuff that you never have heard of, like Genghis Khan brain, devil's tongue, all that kind of shit. Well, he dropped off a couple last year, and he said, this is what they are. And when he drops them off, he's dropping off 50 at a time. And I make relish out of them and hot sauces and, all that stuff. So he drops one off, and I don't remember exactly which one it is, but I Googled it. And it says, under no circumstance do you eat this raw. Will cause death. And I went, okay. I don't necessarily believe that, but I'm also not going to test that theory.
Right.
And God, I wish I could remember. Regardless, that's the kind of peppers that he has. They make the absolute best barbecue sauce that I have ever made. The cooking process tones down the heat and allows the flavor of the peppers to come out. Now, I've always said that when it comes to hot stuff, I don't want stuff that's going to burn my face off and ruin the flavor of the food that I'm having. I want it to accentuate the food. My favorite pepper is a habanero because it is so fruity and floral that I absolutely love the flavor of a habanero. You have to treat it properly and not overdo your recipe because it will burn your face off. And nobody wants that. So I'm doing research on peppers a few weeks ago, and maybe we've discussed this in the past, and I'm looking at my notes right now to get the name of the pepper. There is a pepper called a shishito pepper. Shishito has the habanero flavor without the spice. The spice level, the Scoville heat unit, falls to the realm of a banana pepper. Okay. So if you know, the banana pepper is not hot at all, in my opinion, not hot at all. And so you get the perfect balance of flavor from the habanero, like I said, which is really floral and fruity. And here I'm talking about floral and fruity when it comes to food, believe it or not, without the face melting heat of a habanero. It's game changer when it comes to recipes and things like that, which I really enjoy. But I didn't want to get off of our scheduled topics of
while we're there, remember I texted you the other day. So we have a friend, he's the chief of staff at Salisbury University, And he said, whenever you want to come to a game, just let me know.
Yes.
And we'll make it happen. So the women's lacrosse had their senior day playing Christopher Newport. And it was also for it had playoff implications that if they lost, that I can't remember exactly what it was, but their route through the NCAA bracket would be much more difficult than if they beat CNU. So I was like, hey, that sounds like fun. Like women's lacrosse. I'm a fan of lacrosse, men's or women's.
Yep.
I like women's sports better, I think, because they're more technical and they are I think they're better. And I said, sorry, they're better technical athletes of the sport.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
Their technique and their performance of the skills, I think, is just better than men.
They play fundamental. They play fundamental sports better.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of time, men have the ability to just muscle something the way through it, and the fundamentals aren't there. But women, and not saying that women aren't strong, because they are some beasts that play these sports. But fundamentally, it's just a different game, and I enjoy that. So to go watch these women play in this postseason deciding game was fun. And then obviously he's the chief of staff, so we get to sit in the president's suite, and the president's suite has catered food, and so we get up there, and Harper's having a field day with everything, all the snacks, all that kind of stuff. And I open this lid to this little chafing dish, and I'm like, what is this wonderful little treat? And I take it out, and it's like one of those heavy duty toothpicks, about that long. And it is a peach glazed brisket wrapped in bacon. And then they have a grilled jalapeno slice on top of it. And then all skewered by this.
All over again.
Oh my gosh. I saw that. I didn't even, I took the thing off. I saw it. I was like, that looks amazing. And then I read the sign of what it was. I said, that sounds amazing. And then I put it in my mouth. And I said, that is absolutely amazing. We've talked about cooking brisket and all that kind of stuff, and very traditional cooks that we've done with brisket. But that peach glaze, that might become to a brisket sometime soon here.
Yeah.
And then wrapped it in bacon. And that little, so the
jalapeno.
Yeah, the bacon and the brisket by themselves was good, but that little hit of heat from the jalapeno set it off. It was a completely different thing with and without it. And you needed the jalapeno to make it what it was.
To cut the sweetness of the
the
jam, and a bit. You need that acidity also to cut the fat in the brisket.
Yeah.
So that's.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's that time of year.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So let's talk about pork.
Yes. Yeah. So
what a fantastic meat. God bless the pig.
And I'll tell you, some people refuse to eat pig because they're filthy creatures. Well, I can tell you right now, if that's what they produce, I love a filthy creature.
Right.
Man, we did pork chops the other night, and I'm just, I'm thrilled with the pork chops that we did. And in fact, we typically in the past have bought whole pig, quarter cow, half cow, which is going to be another episode, by the way.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the pros and cons of that. But this was the last two pork chops that we had from our pig that we got. And they were bone in, and I typically do them over a bit of apple. I bake them over a bit of apples. I'll do some sort of glaze over the top. This glaze that I did is you're going to think I'm crazy, but I did a maple balsamic vinegar
Okay.
with a black cherry vinegar mixed together and glaze that pork chop in that.
Wow.
Oh my God. Is all I
Yeah.
can tell you. And all that went into the apples. It was phenomenal. It was just absolutely phenomenal. The bad part about that is 100 yards away is the olive oil store in Berlin. It is literally in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot stay out of there. It is, I walked in, oh, you're back, are you? Yeah, I'm back. I'm back.
It's
What do you
Tuesday.
think? Yeah. So what are you going to do today? Well, this is my idea. Oh man, that sounds really good. By the way, do you make iced tea? Well, yeah, it's going to be the time of year where I do this. Take the habanero white grape vinegar, balsamic, and put 4 or 5 drops in your iced tea. Dude, I hate you. I absolutely hate you because now I got to do that. It's just, when you enjoy food and certain
Mm-hmm.
flavors, you just have to get in that. So anyway, why don't you tell us about your pork experience?
Yeah.
Your shoulder.
Yeah. And I know I'm going to catch a little shade for this because I can't stop talking about it because it's just frustrating.
Sure it is.
You know?
Yeah.
Between you and Rob, it's just frustrating. And I didn't post. He sent me a text. I guess it was I worked Sunday, and he smoked a pork shoulder, and I don't know that I got a chance to respond to him, but it turned out beautiful. And I was like, fucking show off. So we had split a pig with a buddy,
Mhm.
and had a pork shoulder in there, and it wasn't the full size pork shoulder, right? It was probably half of it, and in that half was the bone that was normally in it, but then there was part of that shoulder as well. So like there was more bone in there than the normal pork shoulder, and it had been frozen for a while. So I pulled it out, had it thaw in the fridge, took its time. Like I pulled it out probably a week to 10 days before I smoked it. And like looked fine, seasoned it, did the bang and board dust because you can't go wrong with that. And smoked it just like I would any other pork shoulder. So go through the process, and it's all looking good. I needed to pull it a little earlier, like actually shred the meat a little earlier than I would have liked. I would have liked for it to rest a little longer, but like it wasn't anything terrible. And as I'm pulling it, it's not really shredding. It's not really falling apart. And it was probe tender. It was at least 200 degrees through all parts of it. And like it was, like I said, like any other pork shoulder that I've cooked before, but it wasn't pulling right. And then once I got it all pulled, I tasted it. So I went back, seasoned it some more, a little more apple cider vinegar, and it just wasn't tasting the right way either. It just wasn't coming around to what I wanted. And it was fine. Like I said, my in-laws came down, they ate it, they loved it. Rachel had it, and even Rachel, who doesn't eat a whole lot of meat, she'll try it. She'll try whatever we cook and say, yeah, that's good. I like that. No, I don't really care for that. But even she tasted and she said, that's off. Like there's something off about it. So, so we started talking about it. I was like, I think it was a combination of, it was a smaller cut. It was, I don't want to say it was a different cut, but it was butchered differently than other pork shoulders. It had been frozen for at least a year, and that rest didn't last as long as I would have liked. So I think that combination of everything just led down that path where it just wasn't going to be the same as everything else because it wasn't. And so I posted that on Wayward Souls and had a friend comment about it being like doing a pork shoulder and it being gamey. And I meant to do a little research into that, but then you had posted a response on there. And if you want to go into that for a minute, that'd be greatly appreciated, because that is a good question.
Yeah, absolutely. The when you talk about I'm going to pull up the comment so I can address each one, but gaminess has to do with. I'm going to get this. I can't. You notice I can't multitask anymore.
It's okay.
But it's and of course I'll pull up the wrong one. Isn't that something? I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, here I have it for you if you would prefer. Have you ever had a gamey tasting pork shoulder? What can cause that? So my original.
It has to do with what the species is, what the fat is, the fat content. It has to do because you can have two porklets that are side by side, and you can open them up and you can immediately smell the difference. And it's not because of obviously it's going to come from a different animal, different pig, but they're still pigs, they're still this, they're still that, and they'll have a certain varying odor. Well, it has to do with how they're finished. It has to do with their fat content. It has to do, and by finished, I mean what grain they're finished on. Some grains produce certain flavors, some grasses produce certain flavors, and it has to do with that. It has to do with overall fat content. And that's why you'll read people who prefer a grass finished cow versus a grain finished cow. I prefer a grain finished cow. I think the fat content is higher. I think the flavor is better. That's just me. That's my personal preference. I've had them both. The best meat I've had from a cow is been grain finished from a brewery. They've taken the grain from the beer process and finished their cows on. I've had from two separate farms, and to me, it is just absolutely phenomenal. And what I put the comment is part of the reason is what feed they're using for finishing, the amount of fat content, and the type of fat it is, because there are varying types of fat. There's a softer fat, a harder fat, and I don't know the technical terms for them, but that's what they are. Poor storage, older meat can also cause a flavor issue. Now, the year being frozen, if it's vacuum sealed and the package isn't compromised, I can see where you're pushing that year range, which typically say you shouldn't keep meat more than a year. If the package is compromised at all, and there's some grain or a little bit of yellow or a little bit of white on the meat, that the freezer burn, and that has a very distinct odor, which you would have noticed that right away, and that's probably not a contributing factor in it. The overall age may be, as far as being in the freezer, but most of that gamey stuff comes from how it's finished, how it's stored. The thawing process will have something to do with it also. And by thawing process, if you just take it out and put it in your refrigerator and thaw it, that's how you're supposed to do it. We always don't have that luxury. So we'll use a hot water bath. We'll use a water bath of some sort, or we'll just set it out on the counter and let it go. That also affects flavor. I mean, it's just nature of the beast. Hi, little buddy. The puppy just woke up and came out, laid on the floor.
Speaking of the beast,
Yeah. Speaking of talking about ruling the roost, that's the boy right there. So, there are several factors that affect the taste. Now, as far as your individual cook, I've given it thought, since you told me about it. You may have gotten a section, as you said, and it looked more narrow than a normal pork butt.
Yeah, it was the same width, but it was probably 4.5 inches, maybe 5 inches wide. It looked like they taken a pork shoulder, the full one, and cut it in half.
Well, a pork shoulder is several different muscles, and it's not just one muscle; it's several different muscles. And depending on what muscles you got, that may have been part of the problem, because it may have been reduced fat content. I don't know what was left in your pan at the end. I don't have any idea.
Not now that you mentioned that, not a lot.
Yeah. So you may have gotten a more lean portion, which, if it's more lean, the temperature you may have needed to have a higher temperature, even though it was pro-tender. You might not have reached that optimal level, even with the shorter rest. If you'd had a longer rest, it may have cooked up, as we say, and gotten to that magic number, which we all know pork, it could be 203 degrees. It could be 208 degrees. It just depends on that individual slab of meat. So it may have been a reduced fat content. So you have more muscle, which need to go to a higher temperature. Yeah. And that may have affected the taste also, because you didn't get that mouth feel, and it may have still had the collagen intact and changed the flavor. So that's what I was thinking, more along those lines with that.
And that would have made, if that collagen was still intact, it would have been harder to pull too.
Correct.
So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Going back to the gaminess, I've always heard through hunting, if you shoot the deer, you give it a half an hour. Like if it runs off, you wait a half an hour, allow it to die without being spooked. Because if you go up on it and it's not dead and you spook it, now you get this release of which fouls the taste of the meat too. Correct?
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I don't know that it's true, but I've heard the same.
Yeah,
I think the primary cause of gaminess is age of the animal.
Yeah,
the older the animal, the more gamey it is.
Gotcha.
I killed a turkey 2 years ago that was a young bird. By far the best wild turkey I've ever had in my life. It was utterly fantastic. The other birds that I've cooked were all 3, 4, 5-year-old birds. This was what they call a Jake, and he was a young bird, and by far the best I've ever done. Fantastic. Makes me not want to shoot an older bird anymore. It was that good.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I've heard that about turkeys.
Yes.
That they're all they're leaner.
By far leaner. Far leaner. Yeah.
Yeah. And that they're specifically, those older birds are a little bit more gamey.
Yes. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, damn, we might have to get into your pork belly on another episode. Holy shit.
Yeah, hey, that's okay. That's what's fun about this. That's what's fun. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. If you've had any problems or anything that's come up with your cooks, let us know. WaywardSouls88@gmail.com. Send us a message. Let us know. As we've mentioned in our last show, episode 6, we are the show is going live. So reach out. You'll be able to find either one of us, Wayward Souls Barbecue or the Double Tap In, on social media, Facebook, Instagram, on both of those. So reach out through there. Or like I said, WaywardSouls88@gmail.com is our email address. So shoot us an email, send us a message. We'd love to hear from you guys. We said last show, at the beginning of this show, we're going to talk pork and pork belly, which we're going to push that off for another show, just because that's how things go. Yep. So if there's something that you want to hear, something that you want to talk about, again, let us know if it's good enough, or if we're just feeling froggy, we might have you come on and join us with the conversation. So thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. We hope you're enjoying the show. And we'll see you next time.